I received a text from my dead friend. My name is Melissa Carson. I'm 17 years old, and I live in a small town called Maplewood, nestled somewhere in the dense forests of Oregon. I've always loved Maplewood's attractive charm, the towering trees that loom over us like silent guardians, and the close-knit community where everyone knows everyone. But recently, my peaceful life has turned into a waking nightmare that I can't escape, no matter how hard I try. My best friend Rhonda and I were inseparable. We grew up together, shared secrets, dreams, and fears. We even made an agreement to always be there for each other no matter what. But that agreement was shattered 6 months ago, when Rhonda died in a car accident. She was on her way to the coast with her boyfriend, Mark. They were planning a weekend getaway, something they'd been looking forward to for months. But they never made it. On a rainy, foggy night, their car skidded off the road and crashed into a tree. Rhonda died on impact. Mark survived with only a few scratches. I was devastated. Losing Rhonda felt like losing a part of myself. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I certainly couldn't understand the idea of going on without her. It was as if a dark cloud had settled over my life, and it wasn't going away. But then, the texts started. The first one came a month after her funeral. I was sitting in my room, staring blankly at my phone, trying to distract myself with social media, when a message popped up. It was from an unknown number. Actually, there was no number at all, just an empty space where the sender's information should be. The message read, "Do you miss me, Melly?" "I miss you." I froze. My heart started pounding in my chest. It was Rhonda's nickname for me, something only she called me. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a cruel joke, some twisted prank from someone who knew us both. But deep down, I felt a cold chill creep into my bones. Something wasn't right. The texts kept coming. No matter how many times I changed my number, no matter how many times I blocked the sender, they still found me. They always found me. Here are some of the messages I've received. 1. I'm cold, Melly. Why am I so cold? 2. Mark didn't save me. Why didn't he save me? 3. I'm still here watching you. Can you feel me? 4. The darkness is so lonely, Melly. I need you. 5. Remember the time we promised never to leave each other? I didn't leave. Why did you? 6. Mark says he loves me, but why didn't he die with me? 7. I hear you crying at night. Don't cry for me, Melly. I'm not really gone. 8. Do you still wear the necklace I gave you? It was supposed to keep us close. 9. They don't understand me here. You're the only one who does. Talk to me, Melly. 10. I'm waiting for you, Melly. Come with me. We'll be together forever. Each message feels like a sharp knife to my heart. I haven't been able to tell anyone about this, not even my parents. Who would believe me? They'd think I'm losing my mind. Sometimes I wonder if I am, but I know it's her. I know it's Rhonda. Somehow she's reaching out to me from beyond the grave, and I don't know why. Is she angry? Is she trying to tell me something? Or is she just lonely, desperate for the connection we once had? I've stopped sleeping. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face, weak and lifeless, staring back at me. I hear her voice, whispering in my ear, pleading with me, accusing me. I'm terrified of what she might do next. But more than that, I'm terrified of what she might want from me. I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know how to escape this nightmare. All I know is that the girl I once called my best friend is now haunting me in the most horrifying way imaginable. And I'm beginning to fear that she won't stop until she drags me down with her. I tried to tell myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me. I wanted to believe that this was all just some strange form of grief, my way of coping with Rhonda's death. But the texts kept coming, and they became more frequent, more demanding. One night, I was alone in my room, the house quiet except for the faint creaking of the old wooden floors. My parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me with the uneasy silence that had become my constant companion since Rhonda's death. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about the last text Rhonda or whatever was pretending to be her, had sent me. "I'm waiting for you, Melly. Come with me. We'll be together forever." It felt like an invitation to something darker, something final. I shivered, pulling the blankets up to my chin as if that could protect me from the cold dread flowing into my bones. That's when I heard it. A soft, almost unseen scratching sound coming from outside my bedroom window. At first, I thought it was just a tree branch scraping against the glass. But then I remembered, there were no trees that close to the house. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. I sat up, heart pounding, and forced myself to look. My room was dark, but the faint glow of the street lamp outside illuminated the window just enough for me to see the outline of a hand. It was pressed against the glass, fingers splayed out, dragging slowly down the pane. My breath caught in my throat as I realized the hand was on the outside of the window, but the scratches sounded like they were coming from inside. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My body was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. The hand lifted off the glass, only to press down again, this time leaving lines of condensation behind. It was like the hand was trying to write something. I watched in horror as the streaks formed a single word: "Come." I scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over my own feet as I backed away from the window. My phone, lying on the nightstand, buzzed loudly in the oppressive silence. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. With trembling hands, I picked up the phone and opened the message. "I'm outside, Melly. Let me in." My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I knew I couldn't stay in my room, not with whatever that thing was hiding outside. I grabbed my phone and ran out of the room, not daring to look back at the window. I ran downstairs, my breath coming in ragged gasps, and threw myself onto the living room couch, curling up into a tight ball. I stared at the front door, half expecting it to burst open, for that cold, dead hand to reach out and pull me into the darkness. But nothing happened. The house was silent, the only sound the ticking of the clock on the wall. Minutes passed, then hours. I didn't move. I was too scared to. My phone buzzed again, and I flinched, almost dropping it. I didn't want to look, but I knew I had to look. My hands trembled as I unlocked the phone, and the screen flickered to life, casting an eerie glow in the dimly lit room. The message was there, waiting for me, like a ticking time bomb of dread. "Why did you run, Melly? You said you'd never leave me." The words stared back at me, teasing me, each letter a claw that dug deeper into my soul. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. This couldn't be real. This shouldn't be real. But the messages, the hand on the window, they were all too real. Suddenly the room felt colder, as if the temperature had dropped several degrees in an instant. I wrapped the blanket tighter around myself, but it did nothing to ward off the icy chill that now seemed to flow from the very walls. The shadows in the corners of the room deepened, shifting ever so slightly, as if they were alive, watching me. I needed to do something, anything, to break this paralyzing terror. My fingers flew across the screen as I typed out a desperate reply. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" I hit send and waited, my heart banging painfully in my chest. The reply came almost immediately, the speed of it unsettling, as if the entity had been waiting for me to respond. "I want you to remember, Melly. Remember what you promised." A memory flashed through my mind, unbidden and sharp. Rhonda and I sitting on the edge of the old quarry just outside of town, the sun setting behind us as we swore an oath to always stay together, no matter what. It was one of those childish promises made in the heat of the moment, meant to be innocent, but now it felt like a binding curse. My breath caught in my throat as the realization hit me. Rhonda, or whatever was left of her, was holding me to that promise. The bond we had shared in life had twisted into something dark and malevolent in death. The phone buzzed again, jerking me out of my thoughts. I hesitated before looking at the screen, but curiosity and fear pushed me to do so. The new message was different, longer. "You don't remember everything, do you, Melly?" But I do. I remember the pain, the cold, The betrayal. I remember you weren't there when I needed you the most. You let me die alone. Now it's your turn to feel what I felt. My hands started to shake uncontrollably, the phone slipping from my grasp and clattering onto the floor. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her words wrapped around my heart like a vice, squeezing tighter and tighter. The guilt, the unbearable guilt of not being there when she needed me, of living while she lay cold in the ground. It crushed me. But this wasn't just about guilt. There was something more, something sinister in her words. My mind raced, searching through memories, trying to understand what she meant. The accident had been just that, an accident. There was no way I could have been there to stop it, to save her. Was there? I stood up on unsteady legs, my head spinning. I needed to get out of this house, away from the suffocating darkness that seemed to be closing in on me. But as I reached the door, I heard a noise from upstairs, a faint, muffled cry. It sounded like someone calling my name. I froze, dread curling in the pit of my stomach. The voice was soft, barely audible, but unmistakable. It was Rhonda's voice calling out to me from somewhere in the shadows of my own home. Maylee, help me, please. I'm so cold. Tears filled my eyes, blurring my vision. I wanted to run, to escape this nightmare, but something in her voice pulled me back, tugging at my heart with a cruel, irresistible force. I turned, my feet moving of their own accord, carrying me back up the stairs, step by step, until I stood at the entrance to my room. The door was slightly ajar, and through the crack I could see a faint, ghostly light emanating from within. My hand reached out, trembling, and pushed the door open. The room was bathed in an unnatural glow, a sickly greenish light that seemed to pulse and throb like a heartbeat. And there, standing in the middle of the room, was Rhonda. Or what was left of her. She looked exactly as I remembered her, but twisted, wrong. Her once bright eyes were dull and sunken, her skin pale and translucent, as if the life had been drained out of her. She was wearing the same clothes she'd died in, stained with blood and dirt, her hair matted and tangled. But it was her face that terrified me the most. Her lips twisted into a cold, unnatural smile that didn't reach her dead eyes. "You promised, Maylee," she whispered, her voice hollow and echoing, like it was coming from a deep, dark well. "You promised you'd never leave me. Now it's time to keep that promise." I couldn't move, couldn't scream. My body was locked in place, frozen by the horror of what I was seeing. Rhonda's smile widened, and she reached out towards me, her fingers curling into claws. And then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. The light vanished, leaving the room in pitch-black darkness. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath, my heart pounding in my ears. But the horror wasn't over. My phone, still lying on the floor where I'd dropped it, buzzed one last time. I forced myself to pick it up, my hand shaking so violently I could barely hold on to it. The message was simple, but it filled me with a terror so deep I thought I might drown in it. "I'm coming for you, Melly. It won't be long now." As I sat there, huddled on the floor of my darkened room, I knew one thing with chilling certainty. No matter how far I ran, no matter where I tried to hide, she would find me. Rhonda would always find me. And when she did, there would be no escape. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling story and want more stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.